call me Sarah. Let's get started. Hi and welcome! My name is Sarah Negavetic and I am an author, agent, marketing lady, or at least that's what it says on my blog header. You can find me online at my blog www.sarahnegavetic.com, where I talk about all the things in publishing that you probably didn't ever want to know. Not true. You want to know. You do. I talk about being an agent, I talk about marketing, I talk about publishing in general, and I try to be a helpful resource to writers, which brings us to this video. So remember like a month ago when I asked you guys if you would be interested in me doing videos where you asked me questions and then I answered them and then put them on the web, and you guys were like, yeah, do it, it'll be so awesome. So I did it, and that's this. You guys sent me a ton of questions. Seriously, I was a little bit overwhelmed. You have a lot of questions. A lot of questions. A lot of them. So let's talk about the first question that you guys have. So the first question is it better to query an agent through the Slush or pitch them at a conference? So let's talk about what those two things are. First off, querying an agent through the Slush is the traditional method of sending an agent your material. It's where you're looking up agent information online, you're sending them an email that has your query letter and maybe or maybe not pages or a synopsis, all that good information that you send to an agent. We get a lot of them and we read through them, and from there we request material. That's the traditional method. Pitching is where you are one-on-one, face-to-face with an agent at a location and you are telling them about your story. It is not reading your query letter. In fact, that's really a bad idea. Don't read your query letter at a pitch. It's awkward for everyone. A pitch actually is where you are just telling an agent a little snippet of your story. You might start with a log line, which is a movie term for like a hook line that you use to bring somebody in, and just talk a little bit about your book. Usually these sessions are about 10 to 15 minutes and you get a chance to have a little back and forth with an agent where they can ask you specific questions about your manuscript and you get to tell them all about it. So let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages of both. So the advantages of query letters is, one, you can send out as many as you want whenever you want to. There is no time restraint or limitations other than those that are listed by agents when they might be open or closed to queries at different parts of the year. So you can literally log on tomorrow and send 500 query letters to agents all across the USA. Don't do that. Don't do that though, okay? Just don't. But you could. Don't. The other advantage is that it's totally free. Once you have an email account, you can send them out and there's no limitations. It doesn't cost you one pretty penny to send your query letters. The other advantage is that sometimes writers can be awkward. I said it. We can be awkward. We can. It's true. So when you get face-to-face with an agent, sometimes you can stumble over your words or mumble or just freeze. It's awkward again for everybody. So the advantage of a query letter is that you can really take your time and think about what you're going to say and write it out and edit it and rewrite it and send it out for feedback and re-edit it and rewrite it again and make it magical so it reads like I don't know, something magical. I'm good with words. The disadvantage of a query letter is that agents get literally hundreds of these every week. Hundreds. And so we have to read through them really fast in order for there to be enough time in the day to do all the other things that we need to do. So you're not going to get 10 or 15 minutes of an agent's time reading your query letter. Not going to happen. Usually you're going to get 30 seconds to a minute to capture that agent's attention. No pressure on your query letter at all. None. The other disadvantage of using query letters is that there isn't any back and forth. If an agent doesn't understand what you've put in your query letter, they're not going to send you an email back that says, oh, can you explain this better? I didn't quite understand it. They're just going to move on because there's not enough time to send personalized emails to every single person who queries asking them for additional information. So let's talk about pitching at conferences. So the advantages of pitching at a conference is that you do get an agent's dedicated time and attention, 10 or 15 minutes of dedicated time with them. And you can use that time to talk about your novel. Even if it's not something that that particular agent or editor might be interested in, that's a great opportunity to bounce ideas off of them, ask them other things that they might be looking for, and just get general feedback, which you don't get with a query letter. The other advantage of that pitch session is that you're able to respond to an agent. They may say, well, what about this makes it different than this other novel it sounds a lot like? And you have the opportunity to really spell that out for them. You have a chance to explain your characters and answer questions that they might have. And by talking about your novel, you have an opportunity to really show your passion for your work. That's oftentimes not possible to do in just a query letter. So the disadvantages of pitching at a conference obviously are that you have to physically go to a conference. You're not going to get a pitch session in your living room at 3 a.m. at the same time you could be sending queries. Not that I have ever sent queries at 3 a.m. in the morning. So in order to go to a conference, you're going to have to shell out some cash. There's usually going to be a fee associated with the conference, plus any hotel or airfare. And some conferences you don't get to pitch for free. That's an added feature that you have to pay for, usually between $20 and maybe like $35, $40. It just kind of depends on the conference. So make sure you know ahead of time if you're planning to pitch at a conference, if it's going to cost you any extra money to do that. The other disadvantage I've kind of already talked about a little bit is that if you're not really good in public situations, or if talking about your novel face-to-face makes you really nervous, you might come across as less professional than you want to in front of an agent. I'm not saying that we're judging your entire manuscript on how you present yourself in a pitch, but if you can't show passion for it, then it's going to be hard for an agent to also get passionate about your project. So make sure if you're going to pitch at a conference that you practice so that you can be as comfortable as possible before you get into that seat. So those are the advantages and disadvantages. Is one more valued over the other? Not really. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for. And in fact, a good mix of these is probably the best route to go. All of my current clients have been picked up through the traditional query process. That said, I've met several of my clients before I signed them by participating online in contests or in online free conferences. So just because you can't physically attend a conference, you should still make sure that you're putting yourself out there and becoming a part of the writing community, because you never know who you're going to meet and if that person just might be your future agent. So that's it for today's question. If you have one of your own, I'd love to hear from you. You can either leave the question below in the comments, or in the information section I'll have a link to the place on my website where you can submit your own there. So that's it this week. Hopefully I'll have a new video to post every Saturday. And until then, have a great week.